Hey there, my friend. It's Dave Wood. I'm chilling out in front of the city of Escazú in my swimming pool, and I hope as you're listening to this and enjoying the natural view of the beautiful city lights that you're going to learn something today, and specifically you're going to learn the most important principle to completely alter your destiny, not just for today, but for the rest of your future, and that is having seven-figure earners that prosper in their life close to you, changing the way that you interact with the people that are close to you to make it to where you're always around people that are moving on, people that are prospering, and people that are making seven figures a year. This is really important because if you do this and if you listen to this, I promise you that 5 years from now, you're going to have the same thing happen to you that you had happen over the last 5 years. And what's that? You are the average of the 5 people that you associate with the most. And that's what we're going to talk about today, the power of association. Now, why is association so powerful is the question, right? Well, this is the way that I like to describe it. If you just look at your life right now, I literally want you to take a pen out and I want you to write the names of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. And then I want you to look at their income and say, how much do they make? You probably know about how much they make, don't you? Now, I want you to take all the incomes they make and I want you to add it up. And then I want you to divide that by 5. And what you're going to find is that probably, and I'm saying with almost 100% accuracy, that your income is going to be right around, within a couple $1,000s a year, the average of the 5 people that you hang around the most. Now, that's not just income. I want you to take those 5 people and I want you to ask yourself, how good is their relationship on a scale of 1 to 10? I want you to ask yourself, how good is their spiritual life on a scale of 1 to 10? I want you to ask yourself, how happy is this person on a scale of 1 to 10? How healthy is this person, right? How much is this person growing? And then take a look at the average, and what you're going to find is you. And that is a beautiful thing, and it can be a scary thing, but the beautiful part about that is even if that's not the number that you want, you can change that number by changing your association. And I'm going to give you some keys today to changing your association. This has been something that's been studied a lot. I've looked at it, and every example of it that I find is true, that you, right now, I'm not talking about years from now, I'm not talking about in the past, I'm saying right now that you are the 5 people that you associate with the most. You are their average, right? And so if that's a bad thing, that's a bad thing. If it's a good thing, that's a good thing. And today I'm going to teach you how to change that and change your life. So today, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give you 6 keys to associating up in your life and making that average better. Because if that average was $1 million a year, well, that would be your average income too, because you'd be the average of your 5 people you spend the most time with. And if they're all making $1 million a year, then you're going to make $1 million a year like them. You will grow like that because you are going to replicate the actions and the behavior, the body language, the speech patterns, the thinking patterns of the 5 people that you associate with the most. So here's principle number 1 in my 6 principles today, and that is to don't change your friends. You want to change your friends. And what do I mean by that? Again, let me repeat it. Don't change your friends, change your friends. Look, everybody in their life has at one point or another tried to force somebody else to change. You don't want to go to your friends and say, hey guys, you know, our average is a little low, our incomes are a little bit low, and so we need to change this. Because what they're going to do is they're going to display a disease that I call crabs in a bucket. And this is what this is. You're in a bucket with crabs, and what's the easiest way to keep crabs or lobsters locked in a bucket? Well, you don't even need to put a lid on the bucket. All you need is more than 1 crab down there. And if you got 5 crabs in a bucket and one of them tries to climb out, what do the other 4 do? They grab it by the legs and yank it back down with the rest of the crabs. They don't let it escape. All they'd have to do is they'd have to, set themselves up so one of them climbs on another one's back and escapes and reaches a paw down, and they could all escape. But instead of doing that, they yank each other back down, and you don't even need a lid on a bucket. That's what people do in society if you try to make them change. Don't do it. Don't try to manhandle them. Don't try to change them. You just want to change the people you're associating with. Don't make it so you're discarding your friends. I've heard people in this industry talk about that. That's bad advice, right? Love your friends, but maybe just all through the amount of time that you're spending to where you're associating up, you're not associating down, or you're not associating at the same level, right? You want to spend time with the 5 people that you could find in your life that are prospering the most, that are making the most money, that are thinking at the highest level, and you will be amazed at how much that will change you. So again, don't change your friends, change your friends. Now here's principle number 2. You don't want to talk and then walk. You want to walk and then talk, right? There's this old saying that the Quakers had back in the 1800s that said, right, you don't just want to pray, you want to pray as you walk, right? You want to take action, you don't want to just say things. And so this is what I've experienced a lot of times since I've been around this industry, really my whole adult life. And for the last like 8 years now, okay, I have had dramatic prosperity in my businesses, right? Now, here's what I've noticed. I've noticed that when somebody comes in who doesn't have a good self-image, they brag a lot about what they're going to do. When somebody comes in that can really do things, they just produce and they show you by their actions. They don't show you by their words. And then after they've produced, they say, hey, I just wanted you to know I just brought in 100 people last month and I'm working with my team. I'm following the action steps and I would really like it if you could give me some personal guidance. Would you be willing to do that? I will respond 100% of the time to somebody who sends me a message like that. I'm not going to respond to somebody that says, look, I'm going to be your biggest deal ever. I'm going to be the biggest thing ever in the world. I'm not just better than sliced bread. I'm better than the invention of bread. Because the reality is that I have been around this. I've brought 400,000 people into my organization. And out of those 400,000 people, I've had 1 million promises. And out of that, I've had 2 of those people who promised. 2 of them ever produce anything, and then they both left. So the reality is all of the people that produced the biggest results, they didn't brag before they did something. They went and did it and then said, hey, Dave, I'm standing here, I'm working, I'm following the steps, I'm producing, I would love to associate with you. So again, don't talk then walk. You want to walk and then talk, right? And if you demonstrate that and you show people that you're there and you're working, they're going to reach down and give you a hand and help you get to the next level. Now, here's point number 3. You want to give the 7-figure earner value. You want to give them value somehow in their life, right? And if you don't do that, you can't expect them to give value back because they're also going to be guarding their association, right? And what do I mean by that? Well, look, this is the most obvious example, okay? You're not going to go invite a bunch of people that you wouldn't feel comfortable having around your kids into your house if you've got kids, right? You got to guard your kids. You got to guard your you got to guard your home, right? Also, if you've got a really sacred sphere of association where all your friends are producers, they're leaders, they're doing great things, they're moving on in the world, right? You don't want to go and bring somebody into that circle that's going to mess up your association with your circle of powerful people, right? Does that make sense? You will not do that, right? Like I've got friends that make $1 million a month and I will not introduce them to almost anybody. But the other week I flew down to see one of my friends making $1 million a month and I brought another friend of mine that's making several $100,000 a month and I introduced them together. And the reason I did that is because the person that's my mentor would appreciate meeting my friend, right? So I put people together that are powerful influencers, but I would not invite nearly anybody to meet that guy. And the reason is because I'm not just going to protect my own association, I'm going to protect my friends, right? I'm going to protect my friends. And so that's another thing that you want to do. You want to give the 7-figure earner value. You want to go show up in their life and say, how can I help you? Now, in an industry like home business and network marketing, it's an easy thing to do. If somebody's in my organization and they're doing what they're supposed to do and they're showing up on time and they're staying late and they're following all of the assignments and they're producing, that gives me value and I have a chance to dramatically enhance their value. So they reach a hand up, I reach a hand down, and I help them as they're helping a new generation of people. But I can't do that if somebody's not going to listen. Let me give you an example of this. I've had people come all the time and they just want to come and they want to tell me about how they're going to do things. Well, I know when I'm hearing that person, I know how much money they make. I can tell by what they're talking about. And I can tell most of the time that in a whole bunch of areas, they don't know what they're talking about. Now, there's a bunch of areas I don't know what I'm talking about too, and that's the reality, right? Like if somebody comes to me and they say, Dave, how do I do an effective PPC campaign on Facebook? And I'm like, you know what? I outsource all that. I'm sorry. I don't want to do Facebook PPC, right? So I'm not going to answer that question, right? But if somebody comes and they're like, I'm going to do this, 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 and then I'm going to do that, I'm like, okay, you just took me, took a half hour of our time together and you told me what you're going to do, but you never asked me if that's going to work or not. Maybe I've tried that. One of the 400,000 people I've worked with have tried that. Maybe it works. Maybe it doesn't work. Do you actually want to know, right? So they come talking about what they're going to do, and most of the time, because they've got their own ideas, their own ego, it's not going to work. You got to follow a process and a system that's proven to work. If you don't know what you're doing, if you haven't done things at a very high level, you need to do that in order to succeed within an environment that's protected. And so I have an environment that's structured that works in a certain way. And if somebody goes outside of that and they try to reinvent it or they break some of the core principles in it, it doesn't work. Like one time, let me give you an example of this. We had a guy, he was the #1 recruiter in the organization. I mean, he brought in people left and right and center. He'd bring people in all day, left and right. But there was a problem, and I could have told him before he ever started doing any of this that he would have this problem. The problem was none of the people, 0, ever had any success. 0 of them, and I mean 0 out of more people than anyone had ever recruited. It was amazing watching this guy recruit, but it was also amazing watching 100% of them produce 0. Well, I could have told him that had he ever asked. but he didn't ever ask. And had he asked, I would have helped him build his process in a way that would have not just been the #1 recruiter, it would have been the #1 duplicating team in the organization. But he never asked, so I never helped him. If you don't ask, how can we help you? And that brings us to principle number 4, and that's to ask for advice, to listen, then to do it, and then come and report back and show them that you've done it. Not with your words, but with your actions. Report on them. Somebody gives you a book to read, don't just say, okay. Go read the book and send them a message back and say, hey, I've read chapter 1 and this is what I learned from it. Go read it again the next day, send them a message back and say, hey, I read chapter 2. Here's what I learned from it. Do you have any advice on that, right? Continuously ask for advice and then go out there and demonstrate that you're doing it and continue doing it and continue listening, and the mentor will say, yes. Yes, here's a person that I can help do $10 million, $20 million, $100 million in sales with me over the next 10 years. See, I'll work with a person like that if that makes sense, right? So don't just show up and produce. Show up, produce, follow the assignments, follow the system, ask for advice, do it, then report back. So network marketing, that's a little bit easier. In other industries, maybe you'd have to pay a little bit more for that, right? But no matter what industry you're in, no matter what your business is, you can find a mentor, you can ask for advice, do it, then you can come report back. Now here's principle number 5. This is really important if you want to get around powerful people. Listen to me. Focus more on yourself than you do on your business. Again, focus more on yourself than you do on your business. And the quote that I heard a long time ago, I always like to give credit. This was from Danny Johnson. I don't know where she got it, but this is where I heard it. She said, focus more on yourself than you do on your business and you'll be unusually successful. Okay? Focus more on yourself than you do on your business and you'll be unusually successful. Look, if you want to up your association, you got to focus on yourself. And what I mean by that is not being greedy. What I mean by that is focusing on your growth. It means you want to grow all the time. We were talking in the last couple episodes about prosperity, about wealth building, and what prosperity is prosperity is growth. And if you stop growing, you start dying. So if you focus on yourself and you focus on growing you, you're going to grow the people around you. You're going to grow your association, and people are going to want to continue to stay around you. When you stop growing, people stop wanting to be around you who are moving on because they've moved on and they need to change their association again. So if you stay stuck and then your association starts upping their level, you're going to weed yourself out of their association even if you helped them get there. So you want to focus more on yourself than you do on your business, as Danny Johnson says, and you'll be unusually successful. Now, this is step number 6, and this is important as well. And that's to scroll down right now and to claim your copy of the Daily Shortcut, because we're going to give you some keys. We're going to give you a transcript of today's episode for free. We're also going to give you an audio that you can listen to again and again. And I want you to listen to this. And as you listen to it, I want you to pay attention again to what I'm saying. And I want you to ask yourself, who are the 5 people that I associate with the most? What are their names? How much do they make? And then who else do I know that I can spend some time with? Now here's the thing, don't change your friends, change your friends, right? So what happens is, if you just climb out of the bucket without telling anybody, your friends are going to come around and they're going to say, hey, how did you do that? How did you get out of the bucket? I've been stuck in here for years. But if you try to convince them to come out, they ain't going to go with you. So a lot of times, your association, they will come with you, they will crawl out with you, but you just got to escape, and you got to go out there and be like, hey, why aren't you watching football with me anymore on Sundays? Hey, why aren't you doing this and why aren't you doing that? And be like, you know, I'm making $100,000 a month. I was at the beach. I forgot about the football game, right? You got to change your association. It'll change your life, and then they'll want to come with you. And it's the principle of the mentor. You always want to be a mentor in other people's lives for things that you've gotten through, and that's what you're going to do right now when you scroll down and when you put your email in. And we would love to help you. We would love to associate you if you're willing to produce, if you come into our community and produce. And if not, we'll give you some secrets to do it wherever you're at, whatever industry you're at. Right now, scroll down when you see the space that says, give me the Daily Shortcut. Put in your best email that you're going to open every day, because 5 days a week we're going to give you life-changing information that you can take, you can apply, and will radically alter your growth as a person, because that is what the Daily Shortcut is. It's a growth system. It's a prosperity system to help you have a shortcut to growing and learning in your life. Right now, scroll down, put in your email, claim your Daily Shortcut, and after you've done that, feel free to leave a detailed comment and tell me what your average is, and tell me if you want to increase it or decrease it. And if you're embarrassed about your average, don't be. It's your average. The best thing is when you know your numbers, you can change what you know. And when you don't know them, you can't change. And so right now, scroll down, put in your email. I'm going to give you an audio, a PDF transcript with a workbook, and we're going to see how we can help you to change your association, change your life, to change your income by applying these principles. And hopefully, we're going to help you up your average to the next level. I appreciate you, love you, and I'll see you in the next episode of the Daily Shortcut.